Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome, and I should say welcome back, actually, to the Duron Morning Show. This is episode 40 on Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. And I feel great today, so let's get into it. Yesterday, for those of you guys that are watching this later or like on social medias, you might not even know this if you're watching this a year from now or whatever, but I missed yesterday. I needed just a tiny little break, and I'm glad I took it because I feel good today. As everyone knows, I've been working on my house pretty heavily without breaks. I wake up every day, do the show, go to work on the house. I do that every day, 7 days a week. So, except the show, obviously I do 5 days a week, but everything else is 7. So I'm tired, but I'm glad I took 1 day off, and we back right at it. So this is episode 40, so I want to do it right, and I want to do it, I guess you could say, big. So I saw what has been going on with companies, specifically companies in the black community, but companies in general. So I know you guys already read the title of this, and I'm going to obviously be talking about Jay-Z and what he's been doing, selling his companies, and Timbaland and Swiss Beats selling Verzuz. But before I even get into all that, I wanted to preface everything I'm about to say by saying this. One, because we're going to be talking about who really owns the company. First and foremost, I wanted to address anyone can quote unquote own a part of a company. If you own any type of stock or 1% of that company, you own it. That's not what we're really talking about. When I say own, I'm talking about decision making. Over 51%, over 50%. You have real say in what can be done. So I wanted to preface it by saying that. And two, I also wanted to preface by saying, even though I do have this episode very organized, it might go in a circle because that's exactly what this process is like. It's very cyclistic. So if you hear me going back and forth and it sounds like I'm on both sides of the same argument, it's because it's really like a cycle. So let's just dive right into it. So just to address the headline or address the title of the episode, if you haven't seen, Jay-Z just sold Ace of Spades to the Louis Vuitton Hennessy company, specifically I guess the Hennessy side, because Ace of Spades is a champagne, I believe. Regardless, it's an alcoholic beverage. So Louis Vuitton and Hennessy, they're one company. It's called the Louis Vuitton Hennessy Company, and he sold I believe all of it could have been 50%. And I will, if you're watching this later, like I said, there's going to be a lot of Googling for this too. I know I like to stay away from looking away from the camera, but it's going to be a lot of Googling in this episode. So I did obviously look all of this up beforehand, but I just want to give all specific facts and not say something that could be incorrect. So yeah, Jay-Z sold 50% ownership stake of Ace of Spades to Moet Hennessy. So that's one thing he did, and then he just sold Tidal. I believe most of his stake, if not all of his stake, for $297 million, and he sold it to Square and Jack Dorsey, who is the CEO of Twitter and Square and Cash App, like all of those companies. So, and then lastly but not least, Timbaland and Swiss Beats just sold Verzuz to Triller, the app that used to compete with TikTok and stuff. So, and I think Triller used to compete with somebody else, but I guess that's irrelevant right now. But they sold it to them. So when I saw that, I wanted to talk about why that happens. When I say that, why do not just black people, it's not just a black problem, but why do people build up companies and then sell them? Well, on one hand, that's what you're supposed to do. Honestly, unless you're truly vested in it, that's what you're supposed to do. I was telling my girlfriend, there's people who, their whole career is just creating good ideas and then selling them as a company. That's all they do. For example, like I said, it's not just a Jay-Z or a Timbaland thing. Before before Elon Musk did Tesla and SpaceX and all that stuff, he basically, I forget the real name of the company, but it basically was PayPal. He created PayPal before it was PayPal. He sold it to them and they renamed it PayPal, and he got like $200+ million from that. And then that's when he had enough money to go start Tesla and start all the stuff he wants to do now. So I say all that to say that's one side of the coin. You really are supposed to make something, not really, I guess, be entirely invested in it, make some money off it, hopefully like Jay-Z and Elon Musk, $200 million, and then with that money, go start what you really want to start. That is one side of the coin. Now, in the other side of the coin, which we'll get back into later, I just want to lay all of the arguments out. The other side of the coin. When is it viable / when is the best option to hold on to the company? Because as we'll talk about and dive into later, the companies that are doing all of this buying, they have been in power and have been established for a very, very, very long time. A very long time. For the most part. For I know the Louis Vuitton Hennessy company, like there's no one above them, and they've been started, I think since the 80s. Louis Vuitton. Yeah, 87. So like that company is not a very, very long time. That would be an exaggeration, but long enough. And they don't own nearly as much as the companies that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Coca-Colas, the Disneys, the Pepsis, the General Mills, and all of those types of companies. The ones that own basically everything. Unilever, companies like that have been established for a very, very long time. And that begs the question, when do we just say, you know what, I'm not selling? And to give better examples specifically of the black community, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing like Jay-Z and what he's done. He has made and sold tons and tons and tons of companies. I'm going to be talking about him versus someone like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry owns 100% of Tyler Perry Studios. There's no investor, there's no this, that. Tyler Perry owns all of it. So I'm going to do my best to dive into that side and why we sell, and compare it to music and why people sign deals. And I'm going to do my best to get into all that. So just to dive right into it. Like I said earlier, like I started to say before I gave that whole breakdown, for the most part, that's what you're supposed to do. You start a company. If you're not, even if you are totally invested in it, whatever, if you start the company and you've done it 5 years, whatever, I'll use Jay-Z's example. I believe Jay-Z bought Tidal. How much did Jay-Z buy Tidal from? I think it was either 58 or $98 million. So for him to have, he sold some to Sprint a couple years ago for $200 million, like a third to Sprint. And now he sold, I believe, the rest of his, if not most of it, to Square for round up $3 million, which is not something to sneeze at, but round up $3 million. That's, all in all, he's flipped 58 million or 98 million, I'm about to check right now, to 500 million. That's beautiful. So I can completely understand why you would sell. And give me 1 second to Google this real quick. How much did Jay-Z sell, Jay-Z buy Tidal for? 56 million. Jay-Z bought Tidal in 2015 for $56 million. So if you combine the two times he has sold like portions of it, he flipped 56 million in 5 years to 500 million. You can't ask more than that. So this might contradict my statement later, but how do I want to word this and make sure it sounds right? So in 5 years he was able to go 10x, right? 56 to 500 million. You would be bonkers to hold on to something if you can make that much money from it. If today someone could give you $1,000 and then in 5 years, that could be 10,000. And you scale that 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million. Excuse me. If you can go 10x, then you sell. Period. When I was in business school, my professors used to teach us anything over 2.5 times profit, or whatever you're worth. That's what you if they offer you that, you sell. For example, if they say, like if your revenues last year and everything were $30 million, and they say, okay, so last year you were able to make 30 million in revenue, and you kept 10 million in profit, we'll buy you for, instead of 30, we'll buy you for 100. It only makes sense. Take the 100. Unless you can scale it and you believe in it, take the 100. So I can completely understand why you would sell for 10x. But like I said, to look at the other side, I'm going to do my best to dive deeper into the companies that really own everything and how they got there, and then we'll do a deeper dive into that. So we always talk about generational wealth and how to really like achieve it. And when I think of generational wealth, I do think of Jay-Z. I'd be ignorant to say I don't. I think of Jay-Z, I think of Diddy, I think of Jordan. I do. But when I really think of it, the main person I always think about is Walt Disney and Walmart. Disney and Walmart. Because if you look at like I believe it's like they're numbered like 5, 6, 9, 12. Like they are all separate richest people in the world. From the Walton family, from Walmart, from their grandfather, and for some of them it's their father, because that's generational. He passed down a company billions and billions and billions of dollars, and he didn't sell. Same thing with Walt Disney. Disney was started, I looked it up yesterday, I think it was 1923. Disney founded. I'll just type in Disney, it'll come right up. Disney was founded on October 16th, 1923. So it only makes sense of why they own everything today. You know what I mean? Like if you think about what your favorite thing on TV is, Disney probably owns it. And there's a couple other companies, but we'll talk about that. And let me also say, while I'm not too far in, this might be a two-parter, because there's a lot to cover with this, and I don't know if I can do it all in one episode. So Disney, if they started in 1923 and didn't sell, I always think about what we could accomplish if we did the same thing. If we really had a 100-year plan, if we really thought about generational wealth and long-term planning. Long-term planning, not 10 years. 80-year plan, long-term planning. Obviously, you can't make a detailed plan and guess what's going to happen over the next 80 years. No shade to Disney, but this is just the truth. When he first started the company in 1923, he probably didn't think that black people would be in his movies. Like in 2021, he didn't think like, oh, there's going to be a Black Panther movie and it's going to be the biggest thing ever. He probably didn't think that. You can't plan everything, but to have a groundwork or a foundation and be able to go, nope, I'm not selling. Nope, I'm staying. I'm not going to take the big profit now. Or the big money now. I'm going to make and wait for later. I'm just going to wait. Now, that begs a question. And like I said, I was going to compare it to music. It's kind of like how when people talk about being independent, they say, if you make a hit song, don't sign the deal, stay independent. It's a very, very good comparison, and stay with me. Why it's very rare you see someone be successful or massive with an independent deal and they've not signed anyone is because they don't know the right people, and if that's not their fault. So let's talk about it like this. If I blow up on YouTube and I'm like, hey, I'm hot, I want to get on the radio, how do you do it? Without, let's say your uncle, your cousin, your brother, your mother, or they're your manager. They're just regular people. Your mom used to be a a regular job, like she could work at it. She could be a supervisor, a bank person, a nurse, whatever. And now she's she's managing your music because you trust her the most in the world. How does she get you on the radio? How does she do it? Without signing to Def Jam Records, and they've been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years now. Of course they know who works at the radio. If you want a feature with Lil Wayne, if your mom is your manager and your cousin or brother is your tour person, how do you get at the Wells Fargo Center? How do you go to the how do you get to perform in the Staples Center? How do you make a tour with different spots and different dates, and you know what I mean? So signing the deal gets you the resources. And this is how I want to say this, because this is how I explained it yesterday. There's the potential versus the guaranteed, and everything has a pros and cons. If you don't sign the deal, you're independent. You own 100% of your stuff, your masters, as they say in music, and you got to figure it out yourself. And you already have a hit on YouTube. You have potential to get even bigger. And you might stay in a small circle. You might consistently get 1 million, 2 million views on YouTube. That's great. Like, that's not anything to sneeze at. A consistent 1 million views, you'll make a decent amount of money. You might be able to perform at your local places. You might even get one big like spot or something, or a big feature, because we have a really connected world. You might be able to DM somebody. You might do well. That's potential, maybe. Now with the deal, they can guarantee your success because they've done it before. They've done it hundreds of times. Almost guarantee. Obviously, I don't want to say that everyone that gets signed gets automatic success. That's not true. I'm just saying that you have a very, very, like, 99% chance of success with them rather than you doing it by yourself. Like, your chances go up exponentially. So if you take the deal, they can get you your own merch, like, instantly. They can get you a real, no shade at your mom, they can get you a real manager. They can get you a stylist. They can get you a PR person. They can get you boom, 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 boom. Like, this is what they do. They can, if you say, I want a feature with Lil Wayne, I want a feature with Lil Baby, I want this, I want this, they'll just make the call. You might be on the same label as them, and they could just make the call and make it happen. So that is why people do that. Now, there's another comparison with the deal and with what Jay-Z is doing. Now, what some people do is they'll sign a couple album deal or a however 6-year deal or something like that, and they might be young, they might be 20, they might be whatever age, and by the time they get out of the deal, now they're 28, they made a lot of money, and now they can go do what they want. Their name is known. They already have made some connections with the Lil Waynes and the Drakes and the I don't know, Beyonce, whoever you want. They might have people that they can call now where they're like, well, I don't need another deal. I already signed one. Cool. You guys can keep the masters of that music. I'll just make new music. You guys can keep that. And I'll go and do something else. That is why sometimes the deal works. For the most part. But if you look at history, if you look at the way it works, people keep re-signing deals because they see the money. They don't like that potential thing. You could, if your first deal was worth $3 million with Def Jam, I'm just making something up, and you were 20, now you're 26, and now Universal gives you a $60 million deal. You're like, oh man, I was only worth, like, after my tours and after my original deals, worth $6 million. And now they're about to give me 60. This is more money I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to take it. Then you're in another deal. Now you're 26. You got out, you'll be 32. And now you get another deal. They're like, okay, we'll give you, you know what I mean? Like, it just keeps going and going and going. And people keep re-signing the deal. So the first scenario is how you, in my opinion, obviously, in the first scenario, that's how you achieve freedom, or like to do what you want. You got the money. Like I said with Jay-Z, you got the money, you sold your 2 companies, you got the money, now what do you do? For you to keep going back and you sign another deal, or you make another company and you sell it, I don't know what's really going on. You know what I mean? Are we really chasing the real freedom, the real generational wealth, chasing the things that we say we want to achieve? Now, just to do a little dive, and I don't want to jump too much because I'm trying to stay on track, but just to do a little deep dive into what I was saying about this cycle being like cyclistic, or how we got here, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about like the oppression and stuff that happened. I completely understand that we weren't able to start the companies we wanted to start in 1923, like Disney. Or Coca-Cola, I believe, was started in like 18 something. Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola company was started May 8th, 1886. So there's obviously a long and deep history of why these companies are able to, for lack of a better term, rule the way they rule. They've been doing it a long time, when we didn't even have the chance to. Not like right now, Jay-Z just sold Tidal to get a seat at the board. We weren't even allowed to walk into a restaurant, let alone sit in a company meeting. In 1886, they were supposedly abolished slavery in 1865. They were still slaves in the 1880s because the South was like, we're not letting them go. It's not happening. So I completely get that side of things. But my question, or my I don't know what to call it. How do we start now? That's my question. How do we start now? And if we look up, this is how I want to phrase this next part. I asked my cousin, what even started this from a couple days ago is, when do we sit at the top? When do we become the Disneys? Right now, if you look at anything, if you look at your favorite artist, your favorite role model, the biggest name, the biggest black person you can find, they're not themselves, but their product is owned by someone. Except Tyler Perry. I have to preface that. I looked and I deep dived, and there's no one that owns his stuff but him. Just him. But, and like I said, this is where like all the Googling comes. If you go look up right now, or think about like people wear Jordans, right? Everyone loves Michael Jordan's shoe, and he owns a team, whatever. He doesn't, or I don't even want to call it whatever, but I said to my cousin the other day, when are we going to own 100% of something? Michael Jordan doesn't own 100% of the Charlotte Hornets. He's the majority owner. He owns 51%, I believe. Or he might own the most. I don't even know how much of the Hornets he owns. How much of the Hornets does Michael Jordan own? Now this is great news, and I'm glad I googled this. Michael Jordan owns, as of, when is this? I want to make sure that this is recent. It says as of September 14th, 2019, Jordan owns approximately 97% of the Hornets. So that's, I don't want to say close enough for me, but that's close enough for me. I want him to get to 100, but that's close enough for me. But I was thinking, like, for example, I think the guy's name is Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer owns 100% of the Clippers. What's that man's name? Whoever the Cowboys owner name is, I don't know. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones owns 100% of the Cowboys. He owns that stadium. He owns everything revolved around them. He owns it. Now the stadium, it probably has some sponsors and stuff like that. He probably doesn't own 100% of the stadium. That might be a gas, but he owns 100% of that team. So Michael Jordan owning 97% of the Hornets, that makes me happy. But I'm going to get back into what I was saying before. Look at his shoes. Michael Jordan doesn't have like the shoe company. He has his shoes. Nike owns those shoes. He can't take he has a lifetime deal with Nike. He can't take his shoes and go start the Jordan brand shoe. He would have to go start something else. They own the logo. They own the name. They own all the shoes, the ones that you guys like, and the retro this, and I'm not really good with shoes. My favorite Jordans are the Jordan 3s though. The white elephant print ones. Those are my favorite Jordan 3s. But he can't, all of those that are connected to his name, he can't take those. He doesn't own them. He gets probably a percentage of good money from it. Doesn't own it. And that's where I was going with my cousin. When is it going to be that no one can take our stuff? Everyone is, and I don't know everyone's deals. I was talking to my dad about this yesterday, and he was kind of like, yeah, but we don't know their deals. Like, we don't know how much they're getting on the back end or how long they have to. He's right. I don't know their deals, but I'm going to say all this anyway. We can look at Rihanna, where Rihanna, who's young, all of these people are young as well. Let me not get it twisted. And like I said, they could all be, I don't really think Michael Jordan's doing that, but I can't speak for him. But all of these people are still very young, and they could be getting all this money to then go own their Disney, their Walmart. You know what I mean? I don't want to take that out of consideration. But like I said, I'm still going to say all this anyway. Rihanna. Everyone is very happy that she has Fenty, and she has like the top lingerie line and stuff she's passing, Victoria's Secret and stuff. Everyone loves it, right? Louis Vuitton, Hennessy owns that. Or if you just want to say Louis Vuitton owns that. She can't take her line, Savage X Fenty, and go to anywhere else. They own that. Like, if she's like, oh, I'm taking Fenty to this, she'd probably have to buy out her contract, and she'd probably lose a lot of money. Let's say they say, well, pay us $200 million. That's a lot of money. Think of, you know which one surprised me? Oprah Winfrey. Now, I know she owns a lot of other stuff. Now, I didn't, like I said, it would be too much for me, or I didn't say this yet. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I'm going to say it now. It'll be too much for me in one episode to dive into each and every single company and a person as well, because there's just too much going on, and we could spend literally like 5 episodes doing that. So I'm just talking about the big stuff. So everyone right now, Oprah used to have her show. We all know, or if you don't know, that was owned by the network too. She didn't own that show. She could take herself. Oprah was Oprah. That's one thing she can do. She has her name. Oprah could have easily taken herself to a different show, and it might not be able to be called the Oprah Winfrey Show, but she could have been called it the O or something and go to a different network. So when Oprah started the Oprah Winfrey Network, I was like, oh, she owns it. She got her own TV channel. Not quite. So let's look this up. Who owns the Discovery Channel? Discovery Communications Ltd. Their parent organization is Discovery, and their subsidiary is Oprah Winfrey Network. They were founded in 1991. And this is the part that I was trying to get into earlier that we can get into now. Even Discovery, Oprah Winfrey Network is owned by Discovery, and Discovery is owned by someone else. And that is just such a cycle that a lot of people don't know. If you go down the line, if you go look at TV and like all media, and you look at food, and you look at our favorite, like if you look at our favorite shoes or this or that, it's owned by the top companies. And like I said earlier, that goes back into the fact that these companies have been established since the 80s and the 90s, and they've been able to grease politicians' pockets and stay on top for so long. I get all of that. And that's why all of this whole conversation ends up going into a cycle. And there's, right now, not that there's no way, right now there hasn't been someone or someones with an S that have been like, you know what, we're going to do it ourselves, because these people already have established money. Like I was telling my girlfriend the other day, Disney just bought Fox maybe 2018, or I think the deal started 2017, closed 2020, yada yada. Disney just bought Fox for $75 billion. So if they have the ability to write checks like that, it's going to be very hard for someone like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, for example, Tyler Perry Studios is owned for $1 billion. If they offered him right now, we will pay you 10. Of course, like, he'd be an idiot to say no. They have that type of money, so where he could just say, you know what, take it. I could keep it and do the Disney thing, but they have more money than we've seen in our entire lives to just flash it in front of us and say, look, give it to me. Give me everything you got. And like I used the comparison with the music game earlier, that's what the music industry does with the artists. They say, you don't have a deal right now, and you're making $10,000, maybe $20,000 off YouTube every month. That's cool, but I can send you on tour and you can make $20,000 in a night. The people go, they're right. I should do it. For context, when I was in college, Little Uzi Vert came and performed at our college. He was there for 45 minutes, and they paid him $45,000. He made $1,000 a minute. He was supposed to be there for an hour. He was late. Still got paid the full thing. He got paid $45,000. He was there for not even an hour. So when they give you deals like that, when they put the money in front of your face, I get it. So to dive back into this, the Oprah Winfrey Network is owned by Discovery. Discovery is owned by Advanced Publications. Advanced Publications owns Discovery. They own Reddit. They own Condé Nast, which I don't know what that is actually. And they own anyone that went to college knows this company. They own Turnitin as well. For those of you that don't know, Turnitin is they might use it in high schools too, so I don't want to call people ignorant, but if you write an essay, your teachers want to make sure you're not plagiarizing, you have to turn it in on this website, Turnitin. And that's a genius name. But Advanced Publications is the real person who owns the Oprah Winfrey Network. And you can keep going with that. Like, just go and go and go. And this is kind of like in addition to the way I ended Monday's episode, or the episode 39, for those of you that want to watch. I said it's bigger than you think that Paramount Plus is coming. And I said that for different reasons, but people don't understand that Paramount isn't even like Paramount. They're owned by CBS. And CBS is owned by Viacom. And Viacom is the one that sits at the top. So, like, that's... Let me see if I can pull this up. Viacom, CBS, and their subsidiaries. So Viacom owns CBS. They own Paramount. They own the CW. They own Nickelodeon. They own... I think I've seen this logo before. It says Simon & Schuster. I'm not sure what that is, but I've seen that before. They own, like I said, they own Nickelodeon. They own VH1. They own BET. So they own MTV. There's always one company who owns the rest. And like I was saying, why this even started, when are we going to be the Viacom? When are we going to be the Disney? There's always someone above. Like, if you want to look at, like, I'll even do a different one for you for Jay-Z. And I'm not just picking on Jay-Z, but it's just, I mean, it is what it is. If you want to look at Rock Nation, right? He has Rock Nation and Rockefeller Records. Rock Nation, you would think like, oh, Jay-Z owns Rock Nation, right? No, Live Nation Entertainment owns that. And then above Live Nation Entertainment, I believe is like or Live Nation might be the one that owns all the iHeart stuff. Let me see, Liberty Media Corporation. I'm trying to see their subsidiaries. Yeah, Live Nation Entertainment, they're the ones that own Ticketmaster. They own Live Nation. They own Rock Nation. So, and I get it. They might own 60% and Jay-Z might own 40%. But like I said, I just want to know when we get to the top, where there's no one above us. And I might be blasting us too heavy, because the Disney family, they might only own 10% of what's left of Walt Disney. You know what I mean? But their name is at the top, is what I'm trying to say. They are at the top. There's no one above them that owns the Walt Disney Company. No, the Walt Disney Company owns the rest. And everyone else is underneath them. So like I said, that was Roc Nation. If you want to go to Rockefeller Records. Rockefeller Records they're owned by Def Jam. And then Def Jam, let's see who they're owned by. Def Jam is owned by Universal Music Group. And Universal Music Group is owned by Vivendi. There's always someone above. And let's see is there anyone that owns Vivendi? No, Vivendi is the top. What do they own? Vivendi owns, is there anything on here that we know? And there's so many companies that there are under companies that we don't even know. Vivendi owns Spencer's. They have some stake in NBC Universal, which is why they own Universal Music Group. And the list just goes on and on and on. So, to get back to what I was saying earlier, if this is the goal, like, how do we get there? Then, like I said, there's two routes. You could do the Tyler Perry way, which is the one I prefer, if you want me to be honest. Tyler Perry, if you look up his stuff, if you look up Tyler Perry Studios, and you can do this yourself on Google, it says founder Tyler Perry, founded in 2006. That's it. It doesn't say parent organization, nothing. It just says Tyler Perry. And that's it. He owns it. So, and they said revenue, $907 million USD. That might be, I don't know if that's all time, or it probably is all time. So, like, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could you make the company, you own it, and you don't sell. That's also, you can call that the Facebook way. Facebook, a lot of companies. Facebook was supposed to be bought a couple years ago when they weren't doing too well, and I think that was 2010. But Mark Zuckerberg said, I don't care, we're not selling. Elon Musk, when Tesla was doing very, 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 very crappy, and this is their words, not mine, they said they were in production hell, because like I said earlier about music, when you go to sign your deal, what you're doing is to get resources. You're going to get a new manager. You're going to get people who can make that call and get you on the radio. You're calling, or rather you're signing to get resources. So to compare that to what Elon Musk did, when Elon Musk started Tesla, he did a lot of outsourcing, but he wanted to keep as much of Tesla inside as he could. But he didn't know how to produce a car. Produce a car. So they were in production hell. They were trying to produce the doors and the tires and the windows and everything in the car. They were trying to produce it, and they couldn't. They just didn't. One, they didn't know how, and two, they didn't even have the resources to do it. So they almost went bankrupt. So he was begging to sit down with Tim Cook, which is the Apple CEO, and he was going to pitch can you buy us? We don't have any money. But Tim Cook didn't take that meeting, and the rest is history. Elon Musk called Goodyear. He said, can you guys make our tires? He called Panasonic, said, can you guys make our batteries? And then he made the rest of the car. And then a couple years later, 2018, he said, nah, Panasonic, we got it. And then last year, 2 years ago, 2019, he told Goodyear, nah, we got it. We'll make the tires. So now Tesla is made completely in-house. They make every part of their car. And they do all the maintenance to it. They do all they manufacture most of their parts. They don't make all their parts. They still have to import some parts from Germany and stuff like that. But they make all their battery. They make everything. So You can call that like the Facebook, the Tesla, the Tyler Perry. That's the one method. You do it yourself. You own everything. And we all say that I guess Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook. He owns the most of it. He doesn't own all of it. He doesn't even own, I believe, 51% of it. He keeps like selling it to give money away. I think he owns like 35 or something like that. But no one owns more than he does. And I think that's just what I'm trying to say here. Is if you start it and you own more than everyone else, then you own it, in my opinion. You don't have to own 100% of it. You just have to own more of it than anyone else. You have to be able to make the decisions in the company. I can't, I could Google it, I guess, but I would imagine if I had to really guess, the Disney company, the names Disney, they probably own most of the Disney company. There's probably VCs, which stand for venture capitalists. There's probably people that give them money so that they can invest and make more money. There's probably tons of that. But I would imagine the people with the last name Disney probably own the top 25% of that company. Who owns most of Disney? Let's see if I can find it. Or let me Google it this way. How much of Disney does how do we even say, like, Disney own? How much of Disney does Disney own? I don't even know how to Google that. Yeah, there's no way for me to even like find out. It's only telling me about the companies that have invested in them. So Vanguard is like a huge, like I said, venture capitalist. Vanguard is invested in a lot of stuff. Vanguard owns 7% of Disney, and then there's another company, BlackRock. They're another VC. They own 4.24. Another VC owns 3.93. Like, there's going to be other people that own in your company. Like, if for those of you that don't know, I guess let me break it down. When you're first starting a company, you need money to start. Duh. I mean, that makes sense. But how do you get that money? So the easiest way to get money is you give percentages of your company. So, for example, you have to do all your numbers and crunch the numbers and see how much you've made so far and how much that you could possibly make, and you come up with what they call a valuation. So your valuation might be, for math purposes, $1 million. So you say, you guys have probably seen Shark Tank, but it actually works this way. If your valuation is $1 million because you've done projections and your sales are, you say, look, we sold $400,000 in revenue last year. We have a high, we get to keep, what's a high end? If you get to keep 20%, like ideally you want to keep if you can keep 2% of revenue, or 3%, like, you have a really high company. Anything other than that is great. To give you context, Amazon makes, like, in revenue, they make like 300, close to $300 billion in revenue, but in profit they make like 10 billion. So they're not even making like 1%. They maybe make 0.5%, but because they make so much money, they get to keep a lot of it. So if you get to make anything over like 2% of your revenue, you make a lot of money. So for example, if we say in revenue you made $500,000, but for profit you kept 100 or something. That means you're keeping 20% profit. That's awesome. So you say, over the next 5 years we plan to scale, blah 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 blah. Our valuation is $1 million. I don't want to bore you guys with the details. So from that valuation, if your valuation is $1 million, you can go to a company and say, I'll give you 20% of the company if you give us $200,000, because we're valued at $1 million. So 20% of $1 million is 200,000. So, and what you can structure the deal however you want. You can say, once we get to 400,000 in 5 years, we'll pay you 4, or rather, once we get to 5 million, whatever the number it is, we'll double your money. We'll pay you 4, and then you got to give us our 20% back. That's how you get money, and that's how you scale the company, and yada, yada, yada. It's normally not structured that way because if you're doing well, people want to stay in your company. But you can opt in to buy some percentage back. Like maybe, like if they gave you 200,000, you could say, I'll give you 50 in a couple years and you give me 2% back, 3% back, whatever the percentage is back. They're most likely going to want to stay, or they might give you more money so that they can keep making more money. But ultimately, you want to take the money up front so that you can make more money and pay them off in the back end, and then you get your percentage back. That's how you get money to start a company and to get bigger. So I say all that to say, and I rambled all that to say, people are going to own some of your company at some point. That's the only way to make money. It's the only way. Every company is owned some part by somebody, whether it be Berkshire Hathaway, whether it be Walmart, whether it be Apple, whomever. They're owned, like I just read off, Disney is owned 7% by this other company and 4% by this other company and 4% by this other. That's going to happen. But like I said, the ultimate goal for us specifically as black people should be to own the most of our company, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And there has to be a way that we can do that. There has to be a way. And like I said in the beginning, there's two sides. You can do the Tyler Perry way, and I didn't even really dive into the other way. Because like I said, this might end up being a two-parter, but just to kind of go into there before I get to questions. I know I'm running out of time. But the other way, like I said, is to sell the company like Jay-Z has been doing and get the money and then start and hold. Jay-Z has been doing a lot to get a lot at a lot of tables and a lot of money. So now he's the president of Puma. I actually just learned that yesterday. Jay-Z's the president of Puma. Now he's on the board of this new. Basically, he's in the same room as Jack Dorsey, who owns Twitter and Cash App. So for him to be able to have those conversations and be able to make that call, like, yo, Jack. Imagine just being able to make that call, yo, Jack, I need this, or that. Like, that's what Jay-Z is setting up for. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, he's selling out or anything like that. But I'm just asking a pondering question. When is it that we own everything? When do we get to the top? There's not one thing that I can think of besides Tyler Perry Studios that we own all of. These people are wealthy, but there's no true Disney, Walmart generational wealth. We think of generational wealth as, how can I become a millionaire and pass $1 million down to my sons or whatever. I think his name was Bill. I don't remember what his first name was, but Walton, the guy who started Walmart, he passed down hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to his children and then grandchildren, and gave them the largest company in the world. And that's not an exaggeration. Walmart is actually the largest company in the world. They're the most international, and they're the most international, and they supply the most jobs in the entire world, not only just America, but in the whole world. That is generational wealth. They didn't sell. I don't know when Walmart was started. When was Walmart founded? Walmart was founded in 1962. So that's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying is, when do we start something, not sell it, and go? And just say, and I'm not saying that it takes a long time. It has to be once in a lifetime type thing. It does, I'm not going to lie. But it has to be. Amazon started July 5th, 1994. That was, in this year, it'll be 27 years ago. It's not that long. On the grand scale of things. I just told you guys earlier, Coca-Cola was founded in 1886. So a company that's 27 years is not a long time. And to wrap it up so I can get to questions, and like I said, this will probably be, I want to say this too. It says right on Walmart, the Walton family owns 51% of Walmart. It says the main owner is the Walton family, who owns 51% of Walmart. My case is closed. But what I wanted to say, I don't even remember what I wanted to say now. What was I saying? I don't know. I'll get to questions. I'll probably talk about this tomorrow too as a two-parter because there's so much more I want to say. I think what I was saying, if there's no questions, I'm just going to figure out what I was saying. I think what I was saying was something along the lines of we don't think in long terms or we think long term is to have a 10-year plan. And that, I mean, cool. That's cool, but 10 years isn't a long time, especially not in our society anymore. Dude, I was just looking up yesterday, and I know this is a little unrelated, but stay with me. I was looking up yesterday about Jason Statham and his journey or whatever. For those of you that don't know, he's the one that is Hobbs in all those Fast and Furious movies. The British guy that can fight everybody. He's from you know Jason Statham if you saw his face. Jason Statham is 53 and he's still doing karate and kicking around and doing all this stuff. I'm 23 years old. We think of 53 and we think of grandparents, or we think of old parents, or whatever we think of. We don't think about people saying, oh, my back hurts or my leg hurts, whatever. We don't think of a kung fu karate fighter or things like that. Or I've seen movies where they have Morgan Freeman running. Morgan Freeman's in his, I think, 80s, maybe late 70s. Morgan Freeman is 83 years old, and he's still acting. He still looks good. Like, yes, he looks old, duh, because he's old, but he probably still has at least another 10, 15 years left. You know how much can be accomplished in 10 to 15 years? He's done already so much, and he might have his best acting thing in 7 years from now. And when he's 90, he might win a Emmy or whatever their Golden Globe, whatever their things are called, and it might be the best thing he's done his whole career, and it took him 40 years to do it. We don't think about things on a long-term scale. Oh, maybe when I'm 85 I'll accomplish this. And I'm guilty of it. I always like to preface that. I don't think that I'm perfect. I'm guilty of it too. What'll happen is I used to say I want to retire by the time I'm 32, or by the time I'm this, by the time I'm that. I don't have that mindset anymore. The way I think about it is like this. There's a reason why everyone is still working. Think about Jeff Bezos. He's the richest person in the world, and he's still working. Bill Gates has been the richest person in the world since I was born. Bill Gates has been the richest person in the world. He still works. He still writes books. He still goes and is a consultant on things. There's a reason why everyone still works. So I got it out of my mind that I used to grind so hard so that I could retire early. There is none of that. You can be relaxed early and be able to chill. I see these videos where Diddy and Khaled and all them are chilling. They still work. It's never going to stop. So if I know that, I would rather change my mindset and go, you know what? I'm just going to set up for my 40 or 50 year plan. That's all you can do. So to wrap it up, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow too. But to wrap it up, I think what Jay-Z is doing is awesome, but I think there needs to be more. Now, he can definitely shut me up if he goes and takes that extra $500 million he just got, and that's just from the Tidal deal. If he Tidal. I don't know how. No one knows how much he got from Ace of Spades. It's reported like $250 million or something, but I don't know. And that he only sold 50% of that. I mean, I would have sold 49, whatever, but they consider themselves partners now. With a 50-50, you guys can't, there's got to be like a third person involved. If I say yes and you say no, what do we do? Nothing? No, there's got to be someone else that says, all right, I side with A or B. So, yeah, I hope that he shuts me up, and I hope that Rihanna, and then in the next 10 years, Rihanna can shut me up, because I'm saying she doesn't own Fenty, but she owns her name. She's Rihanna. If she becomes like the biggest lingerie person ever, and she's known as that, then she can tell them, you know what, you guys keep Savage X Fenty. People are only buying it because of me, my name. You guys keep it. I'm going to go start RF. I don't know. I think her real name is Rihanna Fenty, or her name is Robin Fenty. So she can go start a new thing called Robin, and she can start it herself. Maybe she's gotten into the rooms with the manufacturers and the this and the that. Maybe she can she has Jay-Z. Jay-Z is kind of like her boss. Maybe Jay can make a call and say, I want you guys to come run my production company. I'm starting a manufacturing company. And then they started like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And hopefully in a couple years they shut me up. So this was episode 40. Episode 41 will most likely be a part 2 of this. And I'm out. I'll see you guys here tomorrow. Go Attack Wednesday. We are almost at the weekend. I think today's Wednesday or today's Tuesday. I don't know what today is. It's been a long day. Long couple days. I think today's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. March 10th. I'm out. See you guys.